Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Danny Hernandez and James Gisante. We're going to start today's episode on a bit more of a somber note, as I'm sure all of you have heard. The legendary Scott Hall, also known as Razor Ramon, died this past week after complications due to hip surgery. This was a very, very sad passing for a lot of people. He was involved in so many different things, not just Razor Ramon, but the formation of the NWO and the rise of WCW in the 90s. And then he was in the Clique with a lot of those guys too. Basically the inventors of the Too Sweet, which is something we've been throwing up now for 3 decades. So obviously this was very tough for a lot of people. We clearly don't know Scott personally, but we remember a lot of things he has done, even though if we were a little young for a lot of those things I mentioned. I know for me personally, there was just so much of what I initially remember of him, and his troubles and everything, and watching him get his life back together is something I really admired about him. And shout out to DDP for helping him do that. So that was cool. Just watching that comeback. The NWO is the shit. It'll always be the shit. It's just so fucking cool. The video resurfaced of somebody in WCW crowd throwing a drink at him, and it hits him square in the head, and he just walks up and brushes his hair back, and in trying to make him look like an ass, he just made himself look, it just made him look cooler. There's a lot of great memories with him, James, and I was wondering if you had a few that you'd like to share.
I mean, first of all, I'm going to reiterate all the positive energy, all the thoughts, all the prayers to Scott's family. This sucks. He died at 64 years old, I believe, and he had finally overcome his demons, it seems. He was clean these last few years, and I'm glad that he got to be clean in his last few years. I'm glad that he got his life together. It's crazy because Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, his impact on the world of wrestling goes so deep. I'm not saying ladder matches wouldn't have been a thing without him, but I don't think they would have become as big or as important as they would have without him and the match he had with Shawn Michaels. If Shawn had that match with almost anybody else, it really wouldn't have had the same impact, the same value. The NWO is the game changer of all game changers. He's the guy who, and I'll let Danny speak to it a little bit too, but he's the guy who convinced Sting to change his face paint from Surfer Sting to Crow Black and White Sting. For so many wrestlers who are in the game today, who are growing up watching him, he was the definition of cool. He made the business a better place simply by the creative input he had and just the guaranteed money contracts that he and Kevin Nash pioneered by going over to WCW. Scott Hall left the wrestling business a better place than he entered it, and I think that's one of the best things that I could say about him, because like you said, I don't know him personally. Awful, but thank you, Scott, for everything you did. And I'll also say second only to The Rock in terms of best stunner sells. Seriously, I know how many people did not want to see Austin versus Scott Hall at WrestleMania 18, but Scott Hall gave us the super stunner, and great stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned the Sting story, which was actually something I was considering bringing up as well. But if you think back, there were so many people that Scott also put over as young people. X-Pac, who was he 1, 2, 3 kid at the time, I believe. He put him over very young. There was a video of him putting over, I think it was Tanahashi, like a very young Tanahashi over in Japan. Like he was more than willing to help guys out and help progress the business. Like, and him and and him and Nash as well had such a great mind for it that I think both of them definitely, as you said, James, left the business better than they found it. Danny, your thoughts?
This is obviously really, really sad, and like you guys kind of alluded to, I was a huge, huge Sting fan as a kid. So, Scott Hall was regularly affecting my emotions on a weekly basis. So he was great, and I mean this as a good thing, because I think it shows how far he's come. But I think there was a time where his death wouldn't be so shocking. He turned his life around so much that now his death is shocking, and it would have been sad either way, obviously. But the fact that we're all shocked, as opposed to one of those kind of deaths. I think that's a great sign of how he went out. He changed his life for the better, and I think that's the most positive way to look at his death now. Is the last 10 years of his life were a lot better than the previous 10.
Yeah, and that, I think, just speaks to the character of Scott Hall and who he was, at least on the public side of things. He was a strong dude, obviously physically, but I think mentally as well. It takes a lot for somebody to overcome those demons. So I'm happy that he was able to do it and live the life that he did at the end there. So thank you, Scott, and thank you for all you did for wrestling, and for helping us bring joy into our lives via that conduit. But all right, so let's move on from that. There's no easy transition there, but let's move on to another not so great story, a little less heavy, but Big E this past week unfortunately broke his neck. He was in a match with Ridge Holland, and he took a suplex on the outside, and he literally landed right on his head. If you didn't see the clip, you can find it on Reddit, but I don't know if you want to. It was not pretty. Big E gave a few updates from both the hospital and his home, where he said many people, including Holland himself, visited him. But so according to Big E, he had fractured his C1 and C6 vertebra, but there was no displacement. There was no spinal cord or ligament damage, and he will not require surgery. So that's a positive. But I mean, dude still broke his neck, which sucks, especially right around WrestleMania season. So, Danny, are they on Raw or the New Day on Raw or SmackDown?
SmackDown.
Okay, so maybe you did not see this live then, but it shows you how much I'm watching WWE. But I guess what are your thoughts on A, this happening, and then B, what do we think is going to happen with both this feud with Holland? I think they had going, and then I guess Kofi Kingston as well. He's kind of on his own at the moment.
Yeah, so first off, hopefully this isn't, it sounds weird we're talking about a broken neck, but hopefully this isn't too bad for Big E. I forgot the guy's name, but I know he was a doctor for, I believe, a football team. I want to say the Chargers, but I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to say that. But, he was saying that he looks at these types of injuries all the time, and they're usually career-ending, but he wasn't personally looking at like Big E's X-rays or his results or anything, but he just based off of the type of injury he normally deals with. So that's not a good thing to hear, and it kind of just made me sad for it sounds silly to complain about like the nonsense on WWE when something like this happens. But like, in the context of, let's say this was a career-ending injury for Big E, it's just all the more reason to be bummed out about how his title reign went and ended, But I know it's easy to give shit to Ridge Holland for this, but
He got plenty of it.
It's just how it goes. It's an accident. It's not like he was doing some crazy move and that he wasn't ready to do. It was a very routine move. So let's not be too hard on him. I mean, if I was Ridge Holland, I'd probably just stay away from stuff like that for a while, but it's just a real bummer. As I'm not to sound harsh about it, but I kind of don't care about the match that we're gonna have at Mania. It was gonna be New Day versus Sheamus, Holland, and what's this guy's name? What's their new friend's name? I can't.
Budge.
Just a bit outside.
There we go. Yeah, so I wasn't really interested in that match, so I'm not gonna lie, but I didn't want to not have it for this sort of reason. But hopefully Big E can come back. I think Big E has won over almost everyone over the past decade. Because I can remember early days Big E and wondering like, what is this guy's deal? But then the second I heard him talk, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy is great. But yeah, hopefully he come back better, somehow stronger, because I wouldn't be surprised if he just became even bigger, But we'll see. Like, hopefully he recovers like a wrestler and not like a normal human being.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. James, I thought Danny brought up a good point there. Ridge Holland caught a lot of shit for this. And not just necessarily him, but there were a lot of people talking about how this is another guy who's a failure of the company because they brought him up too early for NXT. And I don't know enough about Ridge Holland to speak to that because, again, I don't really watch WWE anymore, but it did seem like a lot of blame placing for something that was, I'm pretty sure, was clearly an accident.
It's unfortunate because Ridge's career so far, in WWE at least, has been marred by injury. He had a freak accident in NXT where he caught somebody diving out of the ring wrong, and he ended up breaking both of his legs, and he ended up missing a year's worth of action.
Forgot that was him.
Yep, that was him.
That was bad.
And then he came up to SmackDown and he teamed with Sheamus. And then he had that tag match with Ricochet and I forget who the other Cesaro.
Yeah, Cesaro.
Oh, I thought you were doing a bit.
No, I genuinely forgot, but
it's not like it's what's his name.
Yeah, we don't talk about what's his name. And then Ricochet flipped and broke Holland's face. Like, I think he broke his nose. And now, not too much longer after that, we're seeing him, unfortunately, injure somebody. We're seeing him injure a beloved superstar in Big E. Now, Ridge isn't some rookie. He's been wrestling since... I can't tell you when he started, but he's been going back as far... Like, I know his earliest match, 2018, because I saw a clip of him hitting the same belly-to-belly suplex he hit on Big E super safely in the ring. This is an unfortunate freak accident. This stuff happens. It's not okay, but it's not anybody's fault either. I know there's the old adage, wrestling ain't ballet, which we got to get rid of because ballet is tough, but it's not ballet. People are going to get hurt. You never want to see it happen. You never want to see it happen to the people that we're invested in and we like, but it does happen. Ridge has, by all accounts, by Big E's own admission, he came and checked on him, like you said, and you can't ask for more than that in a situation like this. So,
Wow, where was all this? Where was all this when Nia Jax injured people?
it was on Twitter when she was joking about it. That terrible person.
Yeah, and her gimmick.
Yeah. So my heart breaks for Big E because even though, thank God, he doesn't need surgery, we don't know what this means for his career. Don't even think about the short term with WrestleMania. Maybe this means his career is altered. Maybe this means the way he wrestles is altered. Maybe this means at the very least, maybe it's a year before we see him back in the ring again. We don't really know. And I wish him the speediest of recoveries. I hope he's okay or will be okay. And I know, Danny, you said you weren't really looking forward to this match, the 6-man tag. And while I do get that, because the match itself doesn't seem anything special, there was something special about it, that it was going to be the first time the three of them have teamed together in some time. Woods just came back like the weekend after Big E got hurt, and it would have been the first time we had seen all of New Day in the ring together in quite a while. And
I mean, just since like Survivor Series time, but I get what you mean.
did they wrestle together?
They faced the Bloodline.
Oh, they did.
Not leading up to Survivor Series. They faced the Bloodline.
Leading up to Survivor. Yeah, yes, you're right. But it's.
But I get what you mean.
It would have been a special moment, and that's gone, which does suck. But more importantly, yeah, Big E's health is what matters, and his livelihood.
It's not easy to take a positive away from these things, but E did have a tweet the other day that I thought would actually be a nice way to end the segment. He said, I used to endure difficult things in my life and I felt very alone, but I feel so immensely loved and supported. I was not prepared for the sheer volume of DMs, calls, texts, visits, etc. I'll never be able to adequately thank you all. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that it took an injury for him to feel this way, but I'm just glad that he now knows that he has this support group and like he is this love, not just by his fans, but by the people around him as well. So again, get well, E. Hopefully you come back better and stronger than ever. And when we see you next, you can be yelling like Kurt Angle about winning things with a broken freaking neck. All right, moving right along here. Joey Janela recently had an interview with a person whose name I'm trying to find on the fly here. Denise, oh God, I'm going to botch this name.
Salcedo.
Salcedo, thank you. I got to bone up on my Spanish. So he had an interview with her, and he was discussing his departure from AEW. Now, he did have a lot of very good things to say about AEW. He's very thankful for his time there. He considers him and Tony Khan friends, and he had nothing but nice things to say about Tony as well. He mentioned his future is going to be building up GCW and helping young wrestlers get prepared for places like AEW and WWE. But there were a couple of interesting dissenting notes, I'll call them, that came out of this interview. So the first one I'll talk about here is he mentioned that towards the end of his tenure in AEW, he was having a match with Eddie Kingston and accidentally super kicked him in the face, resulting in Eddie's broken orbital bone, which I think was mentioned on air a couple of times. That in turn delayed his feud with Jericho. And Kingston mentioned in the interview that he thought he had gotten a bit of backstage heat for that. Pro Wrestling Insider, I should have just said PWI, but they checked with their AEW sources and they confirmed that it was indeed the straw that broke the camel's back, as Joey said, and that there had been an internal belief that he had injured many talents that he had wrestled there. So we'll start there. James, what do you think about Joey's departure from AEW and what he mentioned about his future with GCW, but also what do you think about him not only admitting that he got heat for injuring Eddie, but him kind of, I guess he owned up to it in a way. Please expound.
I think everything about Joey's exit, at least on his end, has seemed very professional. No sour grapes, really. This is just a guy who is no longer working at a company. None of this is all that surprising, unfortunately. Joey started really hot with AEW. He was in some big feuds. He was in some big matches, and he entertained. But as time went on, we were seeing him less and less on the main shows, and we were seeing him more on Dark or Dark Elevation. And the last year, I'd say, has been almost exclusively Dark. He had a great feud with Sonny Kiss, his former tag team partner. But again, all of that basically just ended up on Dark, even though those were stories that started on Dynamite. I never want to see anybody lose their job, but Joey Janela definitely seems like the type of person who isn't going to let this tear him down. He's going to figure out a way to build himself up. He essentially said, and in his own words, he tried to make this seem as much of a positive as possible. He's taking the last 3 years of his time in AEW as sort of the developmental for the rest of his career. He thinks he's become a better wrestler during his time in AEW. He thinks he's become a better businessman thanks to his time in AEW. And I think GCW is probably going to be a better fit for him. I hope that maybe one day the door is open for him to come back if both sides want that. And he mentioned some interesting things about how AEW handles people on their way out. He mentioned the radio silence of it all, that if you're not being used or if it looks like you're on your way out, you don't really hear from AEW. That's not the greatest thing we want to hear. You know, we want to believe that even if people are on their way out, they're being treated professionally. And who knows, maybe it was just a formality how much longer he was there. But that is somewhat unfortunate.
Yeah, he did mention that that also happened to Marco Stunt, that there was radio silence, as you said, with Marco as well. And then he said, you know, he would think Christopher Daniels, since he's one of the heads of talent relations, like he would think Christopher Daniels would want to call him, but it seemed like the company was not letting him, so to speak. So I don't know what's going on there. That kind of, I think that's one of the shittier things we've heard out of AEW in terms of the way they're running things backstage, because for the most part, it's been fairly positive.
No, definitely. And I the one thing I do have to say about this is it doesn't feel like Janela, like, I don't want to compare it to other people, but going back to Big Swole's interview after she was not let go, but after her contract ran out, it very much felt like Swole was trying to get as many eyes on all the criticism she could lay out to AEW. Some justifiable, some, you know, maybe a little bit of a stretch. But here with Joey, it just felt matter of fact. So to me, that makes it sound a little more, I don't want to say credible, because I don't think Swole wasn't credible, but it feels like a correction that needs to be made and not someone's personal gripe.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. You know, like if this is an oversight that's happening, or even if this is the way they just want to handle business, either way, that is something that needs to be fixed, as opposed to, as you said, what Big Swole was saying. Danny, I mean, I would imagine you have to agree with that.
I agree with James. Yeah, I always agree with James. So, I mean, I think it's a rare case of, I don't want to say AEW like dropping the ball, but I mean, in a way, because Joey, I'm not like a big Joey Janela fan, honestly, but he was someone with a lot of hype around him around the time AEW first started, and he was putting on his own shows and they were pretty popular. And, you know, he just seemed like someone who would be featured more regularly. And, you know, he kind of just completely dropped off the face of the earth. And Yeah, I know. He wrestled on Dark and everything, but that's not a real place. That doesn't exist. But
I'm not gonna lie. When I went to, I think it was the show in the Prudential Center the week before Grand Slam, they had one of the Joey and Sonny matches, and it was one of the better matches I saw that night. So it's a shame that got relegated to Dark. Those were good.
yeah, I was actually into that team when it first started. There was a lot of interest there, but yeah, it's just weird. It's just one of those people, like, you just don't expect that to have been Joey Janela's like career path in AEW, but that's just how it turned out. But yeah, as far as everything else, yeah, they got to work on that from how to talent relations perspective. It's okay to not renew these people's contracts, but like, don't ghost them, like, come on, Tony Khan, maybe you're not better than that, but you seem better than that. I don't know. Tony Khan's weird. He's like one of us in a lot of ways, but then he's also like not in a good amount of ways too. And I feel like this is one of those times. It's like, what are you doing, man?
I feel that we've seen a lot lately. And again, I don't want to crap on Tony, but he does not handle confrontation well.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
either tries to avoid it entirely in ways that's probably just not okay or professional, or he gets kind of defensive. And again, not the best from the billionaire owner, but
that's why you have a go. That's why you have a go between. Like that you hire people to do that for you if you're not good at it. I don't know. There just seems like such a disconnect there. Where like I think it'd be pretty easy to go to somebody with 3-6 months left on their contract and be like, hey, look, like we don't think we're gonna bring you back at the end of the contract. Just so they can even go and like get their affairs in order and start booking dates for when they like get out of their contract.
Admittedly, that's not really a problem with AEW wrestlers because they get to work the indies even under contract.
That's fair, but sure. Like you just got to leave. You still got to give them a heads up. Maybe they'll book more because they don't have that paycheck coming in anymore.
Maybe
you gotta
they'll save some money. Maybe they'll think about what they're gonna, their purchases or whatever they're gonna spend their money on, knowing that they're about to lose in income.
Yeah, just being in limbo there just seems like kind of a dick move. Or leaving them in limbo there, it seems like kind of a dick move.
Yeah, and it's not like, I feel like, it kind of got lost in between when we recorded last week's episode and, when it came out. But it's weird. I feel a little bad for Joey Janela here, but well, like Chavo Guerrero, I think Chavo Guerrero is an asshole in this situation still somehow.
Chavo, again, I mentioned like this sounds like a professional criticism versus a personal gripe. Everything Chavo is saying just sounds like a personal, why didn't they talk to me kind of thing.
And even what you said about Tony, where like Tony was kind of those ones were like he didn't want that confrontation, whereas like a Big Swole, or I remember once in a scrum, I think it was a female interviewer asked about the lack of women's matches, and he literally cut her off and was like, I almost pulled like a fucking Kanye. I was like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like he's like, well, we actually have this, and this, and it's like, are you mansplaining women's wrestling to a women's reporter who's asking you about your lack of women's wrestling? Like it was, whereas like the Chavo one he handled, it was like he's like, that's weird, I really like Chavo, like, he's like, I had one missed call from him. So I think it kind of ties into both your points where it's like there's two sides of Tony handling these situations, and I think the way he handled the Chavo one's a lot better than how he's handled other ones. And I'm sure he'll handle this one fine because it doesn't matter. But I mean, real quick, because we're about to talk. I mean, later on we're going to talk about a promotion based around conspiracy theories. Can we make a conspiracy theory about Marco Stunt's disappearance? I
kind of know where he is, or at least I think I know where he is. But go ahead, why not?
Go for it. What do you got? Are you hoping to brainstorm?
Yeah, I thought we could just brainstorm. Place for it, but
wasn't he going on The Voice? Like, I know he got called into audition for The Voice. I don't know what happened with that.
That's
That was a
less
while
of a
ago.
conspiracy and more of a factual statement.
I know.
We gotta go bigger.
So he went to do The Voice, and then he got kidnapped by John Legend, and he's being held in his basement.
He got kidnapped by the same ninjas who kidnapped Samoa Joe in the parking lot of TNA.
Both Blake Sheldon and Gwen Stefani each think it's one of their stepkids, but they don't realize it's not because they haven't talked to each other about it.
He's on tour with Ariana Grande, and every concert she'll bring a fan on stage to sing, but it's actually him every time. So she doesn't have to worry about crazy fans doing something weird on stage. That's what he's doing now.
Love it.
And they're the same height.
She might be a little taller, but yeah.
Well, she probably has heels on, so that's kind of cheating. I'm sorry, Marco. That was mean. All right. Well, since we're screwing around, we want to talk about Butch.
I don't want to, but it needs to be talked about.
It's so bad. What are we doing?
I'm going to say something. This might be the most controversial thing I've said on the show.
That is terrifying.
I don't think Butch is that bad of a name. I only think it's bad because it's Pete Dunne. The name Butch is totally fine. If it was someone if Ridge Holland was called Butch, I'd like him more, honestly. But it's because it's Pete Dunne. That's why it's bad. It's because it's someone who held a title for hundreds and hundreds of days and wrestled on the main roster, as a champion or whatever, and had a name that you're changing. But the name Butch is it's only silly because it's on, like, Butch is better than Gunther, which is a normal name, but sounds bad because it's on a guy whose name was also a normal name. Like the naming in wrestling is so weird because it used to be like you couldn't have a normal name, but then normal names became pretty standard, and now we're in a weird in between space where you have to have a made up name, but then sometimes it sounds normal, sometimes it sounds fake, or then someone like Casey Catanzaro has a real name because it's a fucking, who could think of a name like that? That doesn't even sound real. Like the naming things is so weird. But I don't know about you guys, but since I don't really watch NXT, I've disconnected from my love for Pete Dunne. That went out the window quite a few takeovers ago now. Are they even still called takeovers anymore? I don't even know. But
I'm not sure.
So like this, I could just laugh at this. I could just laugh at this because at least we know. Like, can we be disappointed if it's immediate? Like, can it really? Isn't it better to just know right off the bat that you're stuck with fucking T-Bar or Slapjack or Butch? As opposed to Ridge Holland, who has a boring ass name that's not even funny to laugh at, and you don't know where he's going. You just watch the slow, assuming you cared about Ridge Holland in the first place. But fuck it. It's funny. It's almost objectively funny. It's just sad because it's Pete Dunne. If this was like anyone else, this would be the funniest fucking thing, and I would borderline ironically love it. It's literally, and it's just because of the 2 matches of Pete Dunne I've seen live, like, that I'm like, this sucks. Other than that, I'm just like, I could laugh at this all day. Fuck it. Butch, the way he's dressed, his name, I love it. It's terrible.
That first point that you made was very. He's out of line, but he's right. Like, yeah, anybody else like coming up was named Butch or like Butch whatever, like, is cool, because Butch Cassidy's cool. But changing Pete Dunne's name to Butch, even with commentary trying to cover it being like, oh, Sheamus and Ridge have called him Butch for years, like, no, it's stupid, it's dumb, it's Pete. That's Pete fucking Dunne. These bastards had to change it because you're right, Danny. Everyone needs a made-up name now because WWE needs to make sure they own the trademark on it. So when they leave, they can't keep using that name, and it just drives with the fucking wall with these people. So tired of this nonsense, James. Fucking tired of it.
You don't want to go to an indie show in like 5 years where it says like headlined by formerly known as Butch. That doesn't sound great to you.
No. I know you were kidding. No. Fuck you. No.
Jesus. So, all right, to lighten the mood, I
this was to lighten the mood, and I think it pissed me off.
I think you are more mad now than anything we had talked about earlier, which is concerning. But I think like maybe if Butch was like a first name, I'd be more okay with it. Like maybe if it was like for Ridge Holland, Butch Holland. It sounds like it's a stupid name, but at least it's a name. Maybe if it was Butch Dunne or Pete Butch, it would suck, but it would be better than just Butch. And I don't know. It's insulting because, as you guys said, they invested so much time into Pete Dunne. Like, we've watched him at takeovers. We've watched him in war games. We watched him on the main roster. We watched him win the NXT, the European, oh my god, the UK title. I that was a blast from the past. I am tired.
Hopped in the time machine there for a second.
I missed the European belt, if I'm being honest.
It was very nice belt.
So it just feels insulting that they had us get that invested to then just be like, LOL, Butch. I don't know. I hope Dunne, because I'm not going to call him Butch.
I'm not either.
I hope Dunne.
Oh, 100%. I'm calling him Butch all the time.
He's going to bring up Butch just for the sake of it. Like, nothing we'll be talking about has to do with it, but he'll make sure he gets the name.
Yeah. When Danny brings up Butch in every pod from here on out, finish your drink.
I know he's talented enough to make anything work in the ring. I don't know how good he'll be making this character work. He looks like, compared to Sheamus and Ridge, he looks like friggin' Tiny Tim. Like, it just, but I'm at a loss just because of how much I dislike it. But I like Pete Dunne a lot, and I'm going to support him despite the stupid name. Maybe I'll just chant Pete Dunne every time I see him live. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say if we just ignored what WWE said and did what we wanted, they'd listen to us, but they never have. I don't know.
They never will.
Once in a while.
Yeah. But this is just like they added freaking to Seth Rollins' name. He's like literally listed as Seth freaking Rollins now because he called himself that a couple of times. Like, oh, branding. And then they say freaking like every 30 seconds. It's more of WWE's branding bullshit. And it drives me nuts. And it's a huge reason why I don't watch the fucking shows anymore. Like, I'm not looking forward to watching WrestleMania strictly because I'm going to have to listen to Michael Cole and the generic white guy from Raw yell like they're branding shit the entire time. I haven't even heard them say stupendous yet, and I'm dreading it already. Like, Pat McAfee, thank you for like thinking of creative words, but they just took that and ran it into the ground in 20 minutes. Shocker. So, from one idiotic company to seemingly another, we're going to end the show with control your narrative because this is just fucking funny as hell. So somebody tweeted out, it's at John TD Season on Twitter, tweeted out, control your narratives, rules, and regulations. If you have seen Fight Club, you might know where some of this goes, even though we're not supposed to talk about it. So rule 1, you are in control. Rule 2, you are in control, ! All caps. Rule 3, fights end when you tap out, get knocked out, can't stand, or quit. Sanctioned matches can end via pinfall. Rule 4, standard professional wrestling rules apply for sanctioned matches. Chaos ensues in the project pit. Project pit in all caps. No, I don't know what that is. No, I don't know what it means. Rule 5, no hashtag super kicks, no hashtag tope suicidas, no hashtag Canadian destroyers. Rule 6, the fight isn't with your opponent, it is with yourself. Rule 7, fights will go on as long as they have to. Sanctioned matches hit their times in all caps. And 8, and the final rule, if you want to hashtag control your narrative, you have to fight. So I don't know if they actually just did this for the Fight Club joke or these are the actual rules. But besides 1, 2, and 7 contradicting each other, this is just dumb. It's dumb. It's funny. I don't know. Danny, make fun of this because I want to see your cat.
Sure. So as soon as you said that, she moved down. But
Yep.
those goddamn liberals and their fucking super kicks. Oh my god. Like I don't know what their beef with the super kicks are. I mean, I guess none of them can do it. I guess Austin Aries can, but
It's like a mid-level kick. You know, whoever he's hitting, he'll get him in like the chest at the highest.
Yeah. So this is, who is this for? Like, how do these people watch movies and read books? I'm dying to know. Like,
I don't think they read.
I think they really do take the control your narrative way too seriously, where they purposely interpret things the wrong way. But I mean, if they're trying to make themselves different, they're doing a great job. You know what? This is gonna work. We're making fun of it, but it's gonna fucking work to some degree. Like, this is gonna be like the next GCW in terms of it's gonna hit that level of success, and we're gonna hate it, but it's probably gonna happen. And we're just gonna. This is gonna be the new way to get depressed about your favorites. You know, instead of them being called up to the main roster and then you inevitably being sad about how they're booked, they're going to leave whatever company they're in and go to control your narrative. And you're just going to have that moment of like, oh, I really like that guy. But
it's already happened. It already happened for me. I really like Killian Dane. I don't know what it is, but he's always been cool to me. And the fact that he's going to CYN, just oof. Like, apparently he's a very liberal guy, so I don't know why he's going, but oof.
He's going to be the biggest heel in the company.
He's gonna throw super kicks and hit destroyers and topes, and he's gonna be the biggest heel.
You know, like, I know EC3 was his character was he's the top 1% and everything in NXT, but like, man, like, he's just. I feel like the grit that this company is aiming to have, like, doesn't even really apply to him. I don't, because he doesn't strike, like, I don't know, because he was misused on the main roster, but he just doesn't fit the disgruntled wrestler build to me. But yeah, I don't know. This promotion's great. We're gonna have so many laughs because of this. This is honestly a good thing. Like, you know what? Let them take out their anger in this little club they have.
If nothing else, it'll be good for content, right? But I think, James, what the fuck is the vibe of this promotion? Like, is it gonna be like a fake Fight Club type of thing? Is it gonna be like Raw Underground, but for like an entire series of matches? Like, what are they going for here?
I think their main goal is to blur the lines. You know, they like, I can't as an adult rationally think they're actually just going to allow certain instances on their cards to be fights. I can't believe that, because one, the legal issues there are just insane, and two, why? I'm not going to a UFC fight. I'm not going to an MMA bout. I'm going to watch professional wrestling. I don't need to see guys actually beating the crap out of each other. That's not why I'm going to these things, or that's not why I'm watching these things. I think it's not like, I think it's just hype to get people invested. And I think it's going to be a lot of letdown for the people who are excited for it, all 5 of them. But I don't know, man. I'm not going to say here, I'm not going to sit here and say that nobody in this company is talented. EC3 was a great character worker in Impact. Adam Scherr, formerly known as Braun Strowman, was quite possibly the best big man we've seen in years. I'd say. Like, no matter what he became, he was more athletic than most of the giants we're accustomed to seeing.
And he was fucking over for a while, too.
He was very over.
Yeah.
He was very over. Austin Aries is human trash, but I'm not going to lie and say he wasn't great in the ring. He was one of the greats back in the heyday. So they have names. They really do. They have people who could put on a show, but I just don't want to watch that show. I don't know who this is going to appeal to. I think, Danny, you asked that. I think they're trying to appeal to a very right-wing audience.
They're a promotion that hates victim. I'm assuming. I'm just making a lot of assumptions here. They're a promotion that hates victim mentality, but they're putting themselves in a position to be the quote unquote victims because they're probably not going to succeed, and they're going to blame the liberals who never gave them a chance in the first place. So that's the angle. That's where this is going to lead to. And to that, I say, pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Couldn't have said it better. Bravo, sir.
Also, I think the referees should be independent fact checkers.
All referees have been provided by PolitiFact.
I love this company already. It's so great.
No, James, I was just what were you saying though about like how they're going to do the matches? Obviously, like you said, they can't do like actual matches because like they'd have to get sanctioned and by the states and everything. But like, you're not going to get away with like the work shoot fights from like the early Pride days in Japan and shit. Like, they used to read about in like the old Observer Rewinds. Shout out Rewinder Man on Squared Circle. Like, no one's gonna buy that anymore. So I don't want to watch like a worked UFC fight or something. So like, is this, like I said, this to me just sounds like dressed up Raw Underground, and that's not a good thing. I don't know. Whatever. Look, if you want to make your little fight club, go ahead. No one's stopping you. It's a free country. Just keep, as long as you give me content.
And that's the worst part here. We should be happy that there's another company that exists and it's going to create content and more people are going to get to work, and that should be a good thing. But man, is it not a good thing? Like, I don't know. I guess everybody does deserve a platform, but
not everybody.
I don't. Yeah, not everyone. But I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna listen to it. I'll tune in. Like I'll find out what the news are. But this isn't for me.
Look, this is what's gonna happen. In a couple months, they're gonna be in Connecticut, and they're gonna storm Titan Towers. Oh, this is great. I keep making jokes about this.
But it's gonna be, but they're gonna like do a work shoot of it. Like they're actually gonna they might actually break a window. They might take it a little too far.
Oh yeah, man,
that's how the company ends. Well, they'll like try to do something like that and take it too far, and then like 5 of them will get arrested, and and it'll be something stupid like that.
Vince McMahon Sr. is actually alive, and he is telling them what to do, and he's going to be revealed to be their leader after all.
Oh my God. Let's fantasy book. Who else do we see going there?
That's like the opposite of fantasy booking, but
Nightmare booking.
Well, Drake
Bobby,
Drake Works is busy with his campaign.
God.
I don't. That's a good question. I mean, there haven't been like too many releases of late, so you know what I mean. Like, I don't really see anybody right now just because WWE hasn't had a investors meeting in a minute.
Undertaker for sure. He's going.
Oh my God.
Kid Rock is obviously going. He's going to be the
Glenn-
general manager.
Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah.
Specifically Glenn Jacobs.
I'll start watching if he goes. I'm not gonna lie. I can't. That guy can do almost anything, and I'll probably forgive him. But
I mean, you know, with the AEW contracts coming up too, maybe some people from there would end up there. Maybe, you know, even just as like a booking or two, just to see what's up. But who knows? They're such a young fledgling company that it's hard to predict, you know, stuff like that.
Janela was joking about it. Janela was saying that he thinks maybe he has to go control his narrative or something.
I did see that.
I mean, obviously he's not going, but that would be really funny.
I don't think he would want to build up what I would perceive to be a competitor to GCW, or at least what I would perceive that they perceive to be a competitor to GCW.
God.
but see, that's what ultimately they're just gonna get some clicks off of people. Just the phrase "control your narrative" is so common, not commonly used, but pretty commonly used to the point where they'll get some people checking it out just because the word it'll pop up because of algorithms and shit. You know, people will type narrative and control in the same sentence all the time, and eventually the algorithm will be like, "Hey, you'd like this wrestling promotion," and that's how they're gonna take over the industry.
Through a technicality.
Through the same Facebook website that they hate.
Well, I was gonna say you could look up LeBron shit and like see control your narrative, you know, and like if you even remotely close to those words, it might pop up because
too late. LeBron's going. That's it.
It's such a big talking point, you know, with athletes nowadays, especially in the NBA. But no, what's gonna end up happening is they're gonna get really popular on Parler. And that's where they'll get all their following from.
I forgot Parler was a thing.
Oof, throwback. Yeah. Although you said European title earlier, so maybe it wasn't that much of a throwback.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair.
Well, that's all the jokes I have on this. So unless you guys have anything else, I think that about wraps things up here on the Market Down podcast. Even though I forgot to make the joke that Kevin Dunne probably didn't let Pete Dunne keep his name. So on that note, thank you so much for watching. That was James' joke. I'm sorry, I stole it, but I had to sneak it in before the end of the episode.
I mean, I'm glad it got in. Damn.
Well, we both forgot, and I really wanted it in the show. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We're still trying to get James to rap and dye his hair green. Follow us on all our social media accounts. They will be in the description below. And once again, thank you so much. And we will see you next time here on the Market Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.